Commonwealth Heads of Government Meeting 2013, Colombo, Sri Lanka.
Ayubowan, Wanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
Sri Lanka extends a warm welcome to the distinguished delegates representing the member states of the Commonwealth.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our heads of government.
His Excellency Tekin Charlie Tokatake, Chairman of the Public Service Commission of Kiribati.
The Honorable Arnold Nicholson, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Jamaica.
His Excellency Dr. Carl Roberts, High Commissioner of Antigua and Barbuda to the United Kingdom.
The Honorable Winston Dukeran, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Trinidad and Tobago.
His Excellency Mr. Senior Lewis, High Commissioner of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the United Kingdom.
The Honorable Dr. Samura Kamara, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Sierra Leone.
His Excellency Mr. Joseph Dion Ngute, Minister Delegate Relations with the Commonwealth of Cameroon.
His Excellency Mr. Salman Khurshid, Minister of External Affairs of India.
The Honorable Amina Mohammed, Cabinet Secretary of Kenya.
The Right Honorable Alva Baptiste, Minister of Foreign Affairs of St. Lucia.
The Honorable Unterfetz Kenneth Matambo, Minister of Finance and Development of Botswana.
His Excellency Mr. Oldomiro Julio Marcos Baloai, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Mozambique.
The Honorable Deepak Oberoi, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Canada.
The Honorable Wilfred Elrington, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Belize.
Her Excellency Ms. Francine Barron, High Commissioner of Dominica to the United Kingdom.
Senator, the Honorable Maxine McLean, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of Barbados.
Dr. the Honorable Arvind Bulel, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade of Mauritius.
His Excellency Mr. Joseph Muscat, Prime Minister of Malta.
Sir Iacoba Italali, Governor General of Tuvalu.
Right Honorable Motsohai Tabane, Prime Minister of Lesotho.
The Honorable Kumbo Kachali, Vice President of Malawi.
The Honorable Gordon Lilo, Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands.
His Excellency Mr. Mohamed Nabadi Sambo, Vice President of Nigeria.
The Right Honorable David Cameron, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
His Excellency Mr. Baron Walker, President of Nauru.
His Excellency Mr. Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda.
His Excellency Mr. Edward Sakandai, Vice President of Uganda.
The Honorable Lord Tuivakano, Prime Minister of Tonga.
The Honorable Guy Scott, Vice President of Zambia.
His Excellency Mr. Donald Ramota, President of Guyana.
His Excellency Mr. Kwesi Bikoy Amisa Arthur, Vice President of Ghana.
His Excellency Mr. Nikos Anastasiades, President of Cyprus.
His Excellency Mr. Leon Dion, Deputy Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea.
His Excellency Mr. Moana Karkassis Kalosi, Prime Minister of Vanuatu.
His Excellency Mr. Jacob Zuma, President of South Africa.
His Excellency Mr. James Michel, President of Seychelles.
His Excellency Mr. John Key, Prime Minister of New Zealand.
His Excellency Dr. Barnabas Sibusiso Dlamini, Prime Minister of Swaziland.
The Right Honorable Terry Christie, Prime Minister of the Bahamas.
The Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis.
His Excellency Mr. Hifikepunye Pohamba, President of Namibia.
Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah, Sultan of Brunei Darussalam.
His Excellency Mr. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, President of Tanzania.
The Honorable Felipe Saileli Malielegai, Prime Minister of Samoa.
The Honorable Muhammad Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister of Pakistan.
The Honorable Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of Bangladesh.
The Honorable Dato Shri Mohammed Najib bin Tun Haji Abdul Razak, Prime Minister of Malaysia.
His Excellency Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, Prime Minister of Singapore.
Please welcome the Honorable Tony Abbott, Prime Minister of Australia, and His Excellency Kamalesh Sharma, Commonwealth Secretary General.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, and His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, representing Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, Head of the Commonwealth.
Of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Today's performance of the national anthem is a rendition by primary and secondary school children representing many schools in Sri Lanka.
Lanka,
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. Ayubowan, the traditional greeting of Sri Lankans.
Ayubowan means wishing you a long life. This rendition is performed by the senior artists of Sri Lanka. Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Most Venerable Mahasangha and other religious dignitaries, Your Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, fellow heads of government, Commonwealth Foreign Ministers, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the opening ceremony of the 22nd Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. It is my pleasure to welcome to Sri Lanka, Your Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. fellow Commonwealth heads of government, foreign ministers, spouses of visiting dignitaries, delegates, and special invitees. Your Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales, representing the heads of the Commonwealth, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II is no stranger to Sri Lanka. In fact, Royal Highness Trust Fund several ongoing social development projects here. I am sure Your Royal Highness will carry pleasant memories of this visit to our country. I also wish to thank the outgoing Chairman of Australia for extending all the support to make this Cogam a success. Hosting this meeting is a historic occasion for Sri Lanka and also a tribute to Asia as Cogam returns to this region after 24 years. As one of the 8 founding members of the modern Commonwealth, Sri Lanka is deeply honored to host this event. I'm extremely thankful to all of you who have been firm in your support and understanding of the related complexities in Sri Lanka's post-conflict phase. This confidence reposed by you in my country will greatly assist me in steering the organization's future in the best interest of our peoples. We in Sri Lanka are stepping into a new era of peace, stability, and renewed economic opportunities that have been long denied to my people due to the menace of terrorism that existed for nearly 3 decades. In ending terrorism in 2009, we asserted the greatest human right, the right to life. I'm happy to state that in the past 4 years, there hasn't been a single terrorist-related incident anywhere in Sri Lanka. Excellencies and friends, there is a multitude of global challenges arising from the uncertainty of the socio-economic conditions faced by our nations today. We in the Commonwealth must therefore collectively find means of effectively addressing these challenges to safeguard the values we hold dear. It is in recognition of that urgent need to address the burning issues connected to truth and development, which directly impinged on the lives of our peoples, that Sri Lanka proposed the theme, Growth with Equity, Inclusive Development, for this Cogam. We believe that this theme has broad relevance to the larger Commonwealth and highlights the importance of equity in economic development, particularly in view of the existing disparities in the distribution of wealth and economic benefits. Inclusive development promotes progress and contributes towards achieving Millennium Development Goals. In the case of Sri Lanka, our current policy agenda, the Mahinda Chintana, Vision for the Future, spells out clear strategies of improving the livelihoods of our people, ensuring that economic and social benefits reached every strata of society. And more importantly, taking Sri Lanka into the future by aiming to be the wonder of Asia. I'm happy to say that Sri Lanka has achieved success on a range of social indicators that comprise the MDGs, despite being lower middle income country. Absolute poverty in Sri Lanka declined from 15.2% in 2007 to 6.5% in 2012, surpassing the MDG's midterm target. While reaching out to care for all our people's needs, the government has also taken a proactive approach to post-conflict reconstruction and reconciliation. Your Royal Highness, fellow heads of government, excellencies, and friends, faced with tough challenges, we in the Commonwealth need to ask ourselves a few questions. First, can we realistically say that need for basic facilities, healthcare, education, employment, access to food and safe drinking water, eradication of poverty and hunger are of lesser importance than political concerns? Second, should not the Commonwealth collectively strive towards the realization of development goals to enable its member countries to reap economic benefits? Third one, should we be addressing more vigorously the issue of common poverty before we talked about commonwealth? As a matter of priority, we in the Commonwealth should focus on development challenges confronting the majority of our member nations. I see compelling need for those who guide the destiny of the Commonwealth to give serious thought to practical modalities, focusing on social and economic issues. This will greatly enhance the relevance and value of the Commonwealth. Particular emphasis on the well-being of women and children is a must. There is as well the acute need for awareness of both the potential and the risks attendant on information technology. Although economic priorities take center stage, let us not forget that the people are the greatest wealth of our nation. Strengthening the quality of human capital will help countries to achieve sustained growth. Greater people-to-people contact within the nations of the Commonwealth, as well as the taking the objective of the Commonwealth to the most remote sections of our populations, is also important. Cogam 2013 will provide the opportunity for us to assess the Commonwealth's achievement with regard to development goals. If the Commonwealth is to remain relevant to its member countries, the association must respond sensitively to the needs of its peoples and not let it turn into a punitive or judgmental body. We must also collectively guard against bilateral agendas being introduced into the organization, distorting Commonwealth traditions and consensus. The strength of the organization lies in keeping the member countries together, helping one another in a spirit of partnership, making the Commonwealth truly unique. Excellencies, our deliberations in Colombo must lead to the greatest practical benefits for the peoples of renewed Commonwealth. One that is engaging, collaborative and unifying, rather than prescriptive and divisive. In December last year, the Charter of the Commonwealth, comprising the values and aspirations shared by all members of the organization, was adopted. To us in Sri Lanka today, they continue to be relevant as we usher in a new era, and also because all religions we follow in Sri Lanka have taught us to uphold the highest human values. Finally, I wish to quote the words of the Buddha, the enlightened one. Napirisang vilomani naparisang kata katang atumucha avikkeya katani akatanicha. Let not one take notice of faults of others or what they have done or not done. Let one be concerned only about what one has done and left undone. End of quote. While looking forward to a fruitful and constructive engagement, I wish all of you a very pleasant and enjoyable stay in our country. Till one sunlight, may the noble Fulgence bless you all.
A story of Sri Lanka's history, folk lifestyles, indigenous cultures and traditions told in the form of a multifaceted dance act. The dance begins with a depiction of the early voyagers who visited Sri Lanka and their admiration of its many marvels. Then it proceeds to discover Sri Lanka's rich agricultural heritage and its advanced irrigation technology. Moving on to learn of the country's natural healing science known as Veda and the religious healing rituals performed to cleanse body and mind. We also discover the early education systems that train people in various livelihoods such as farming, traditional drumming and dance.
Throughout the ages, travelers from all corners of the world have journeyed to a mystical and magnificent island nestled in the heart of the Indian Ocean. All through history, this island nation has been referred to by many a name such as Taprobane, Serendib, the granary of the East, and still to this day, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. that day by paying homage to the sun. The people of the island work the fertile soil that nourishes an entire nation. Ancient kings regarded the soil as a giver, a life, and fed it through intricate man-made waterways and great lakes. The island nation sought medicine and healing from Mother Nature. Healing rituals were performed to cleanse the body and mind of impurities through the recital of spiritual chants called slokas. The study of astrology was central to the ancient system of education. Men of wisdom sought counsel from the stars and read the future looking at planetary positions. Time, space, and energy were harnessed in the art of movement and traditional drumming, which gave rise to the traditional dances of Sri Lanka.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Kamalesh Sharma, the Commonwealth Secretary General.
Your Royal Highness, President Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Abbott, distinguished heads of government, representatives from the Commonwealth family, and guests, a warm welcome and greetings. It is very good to see Cogam back in Asia, home to 3/4 of the people of the Commonwealth. The first ever Cogam took place in Singapore in 1971, but it is almost a quarter of a century since the Cogam was last held in the Asian region. That was in Kuala Lumpur in 1989. We thank the government and the people of Sri Lanka for the generosity, enthusiasm, and warmth of their welcome. As one of the 8 original members of the modern Commonwealth, Sri Lanka has shown enduring energy and commitment as a member of our global Commonwealth family. That involvement now intensifies as the Commonwealth entrusts to Sri Lanka the leadership role and responsibility of serving as chair in office. The goodwill and commitment of all our member states to seeking and finding common ground has long been our Commonwealth strength and remains our springboard for the future. Painstaking at times, its rewards are immeasurable. Wisdom and discovering where we can add to the global good is our continuing global Commonwealth gift to the world. Ideas and action flowing from meetings of the Commonwealth leaders are remarkable, in particular for the distinctive way in which they are right for the moment and they change the moment. We recall the visionary yet applied understanding of the Commonwealth Commission on Respect and Understanding, and its essential message to undo what divides us and to do what unites, to see each other not through a reductionist lens, but through a prism in which our unique individual identities, with their full richness and complexity, can be valued and respected and celebrated. It remains a Commonwealth message and balm for all our societies in their diversity and to the world. Our Commonwealth approach is to see democracy, development, and respect for diversity as mutually supportive and melding to form the bedrock of national harmony and progress for all our people. For us, it is not a matter of our political values at one end of the spectrum and our development values at the other. All are found indivisibly in our Commonwealth Charter. It is in embracing the spirit of inclusiveness that our hosts and leaders have settled on a theme for this meeting, which connects growth with equity. All in our societies should be better able to share the fruits of prosperity. None should be left behind. This has ever been our Commonwealth conviction. In this Cogam, it is also a very rich agenda that will be addressed. Debt management, solvency, and resilience in our small member states. Climate finance for small and vulnerable states. Practical trade measures to help increase exports, including finance and advocacy that can help shape the global trade agenda. Unlocking the potential for member governments to assist each other directly, giving fuller meaning to the notion of our commonwealth. The discourse on the global development agenda at the end of the term of the Millennium Development Goals, focusing on the added practical value we can bring together in the post-2015 world. A proposed Commonwealth plan for broadband inclusion to open new vistas of being connected and networked to advance our economic and social goals. And in the Commonwealth of the people, a fresh examination of how our Commonwealth borders can be opened to promote exchanges between our citizens. Your Royal Highness, your long-standing commitment to a sustainable environment, as well as innovative approaches to training for employment and mentoring for business enterprise are well known to the Commonwealth. Winning the gigantic challenge of youth employment is vital to the well-being of our societies. We are delighted to welcome you here to represent the head of the Commonwealth, Her Majesty, the Queen. Distinguished guests, deep awareness that our destinies are joined drives us forward in seeking together for practical solutions to the many great tasks before the Commonwealth and the world at large. In these times of flux and rapid alteration, a shared vision of our collective striving and resolve are needed more than ever. That is the role of all Cogams, to bring us closer as a family and to move us forward together. We turn to our heads, gathered here to lead us forward in that spirit and purpose. We are the world's north, south, east, and west. And we illustrate to the wider world that the Commonwealth closes the distance between them. Bahumai Stuti, Romba Nandri, thank you very much.
Carnival of Commonwealth Cultures, a cultural dance from North America and Europe, backed by skillful play of snare drum instruments indigenous to all these countries. Also featuring tribal dances and djembe drums from Africa, Caribbean salsa, samba, and West Indian steel drums, adding more spice to this performance. The mysterious East is depicted through the Indian Kathakali dance to the beat of the chenda, and Australia's rich musical heritage from the Aboriginal dances. The Cogam 2013 host nation brings you traditional Sri Lankan dances and drums, presented as a part of its performing arts heritage. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister of Australia, the Honourable Tony Abbott.
Your Royal Highnesses, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The Commonwealth spans 53 countries with 30% of the world's population, 20% of the world's landmass, but just 15% of the world's GDP. And it's our job to improve that. The Commonwealth is not a community of power, wealth, geography, religion or language, so much as a community of values. We believe in democracy based on the rule of law. We acknowledged Queen Elizabeth as head of the Commonwealth. We share a legacy of British institutions and influence, which all of us have adapted and improved in our own ways. We are convinced that you don't make new friends by losing old ones. We remain members of the Commonwealth because we believe that this dialogue helps us to come closer to being our best selves. In Perth 2 years ago, Commonwealth members collectively agreed to important and timely reforms. We resolved to champion our central values more effectively, and we boosted cooperation on important global issues such as food security and sustainable development. The key achievement, though, was leaders' agreement to develop a Commonwealth Charter. This charter has since been tabled in many of the parliaments of the Commonwealth, including the Australian Parliament. The Charter expresses our principles and aspirations, refined over 60 years of collaboration and development. It gives us a standard to judge our actions. We also agreed that when the Commonwealth's values are challenged, we should engage earlier and in a spirit of inclusion, not isolation. It's a credit to the leaders and to the delegations present in Perth 2 years ago that this has been achieved. Australia is proud to have played its part in the development of the Commonwealth Charter. During the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Perth, we also considered how we could make the Commonwealth more effective as an organisation. Our Perth Declaration on Food Security Principles recognises that half of the world's 1 billion hungry live in Commonwealth nations. They are our people and they deserve better. This will mean improving agricultural productivity and reducing barriers between food producers and markets. It means allowing markets to develop freely and naturally. Also in Perth, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Trust was launched, honouring Her Majesty's lifetime of duty and service. This trust has already raised more than £100 million from across the Commonwealth. This will be deployed in the fight against avoidable blindness across the Commonwealth and to support our young leaders. As the outgoing chair, Australia looks back on the work of the past 2 years with satisfaction but not complacency, because each achievement sets up the need for the next one. Australia thanks its Commonwealth friends for their support and help during our term as chair in office. Finally, I acknowledge Sri Lanka as our host and as Commonwealth Chair for the next 2 years. This country has emerged from many troubles. But with peace has come more freedom and more prosperity. So we are here to praise as much as to judge. There are examples in the Commonwealth, in South Africa and Ireland, for instance, where intractable problems have finally responded to the better angels of our nature. Sri Lanka's willingness to host this Commonwealth shows its commitment to democratic pluralism and freedom based on law, and ought to reassure all its citizens that just as today is better than yesterday, tomorrow will be better than today. My friends, this Commonwealth can make a difference in many corners of the world through example, encouragement, and the instinct to find common ground wherever possible based on shared values. May these days of discussion foster all our best instincts.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, representing Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the head of the Commonwealth.
President Rajapaksa, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind welcome. My wife and I are very glad indeed to be joining you here in Colombo. At the personal request of the Queen, I am delighted to be addressing you this morning on behalf of the head of the Commonwealth. Her Majesty's deep affection for the Commonwealth and the special importance she has attached to it throughout her reign are well known to you all. And if I may say so, those very sentiments have been an ever-present cornerstone in my own life also. It is therefore my particular privilege and pleasure to be representing the Queen at this, the 2013 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Now, I'm especially pleased to be back among the people of Sri Lanka, who in recent years have confronted great adversity. My last visit here in 2005 came just weeks after the devastating tsunami had struck these shores. I visited communities affected by the disaster and met many of the relief workers who were doing so much to help rebuild broken lives and livelihoods. I recall my admiration for the fortitude shown by them all at that time and commend the progress that has been made since in healing those dreadful scars. Sri Lanka was one of the founding countries of the modern Commonwealth. Historians of this family of nations will recall that in the circumstances of that time, the Commonwealth showed an exceptional spirit of accommodation over how the organization should be constituted. This led one prominent head of government, in other words, Prime Minister Nehru, with whom, incidentally, I always felt proud to share a birthday, to declare that the Commonwealth seemed capable of bringing a touch of healing to the management of contemporary world problems. More than 60 years later, we should not need to be reminded of the many troubles that beset our world, some of them previously little understood, nor should we underestimate the importance and responsibility of the Commonwealth's role in addressing them. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting to take place since the adoption of the Commonwealth Charter, to which the Prime Minister of Australia has just alluded, and which the Queen signed on Commonwealth Day earlier this year. Her Majesty welcomed the Charter as a milestone in the development of today's Commonwealth, saying it will light the path of all those involved in the work of the Commonwealth and of those who follow in our footsteps. The Charter reaffirms the core values and principles of the Commonwealth. At this Cogam, and guided by that spirit, the Commonwealth is being charged to confront the many issues affecting security, the security and well-being of its nations and peoples, working to the agenda which the Secretary-General has just outlined. The Queen wishes you well in these vitally important deliberations. Mr. Abbott also kindly mentioned the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Trust. And if I may, I should just like to take this opportunity of extending Her Majesty's sincere thanks for this remarkable initiative, which has been founded as a tribute to her 60 years of service as head of the Commonwealth. The Diamond Jubilee Trust, announced in Perth 2 years ago and designed to provide a lasting legacy for the benefit of the Commonwealth, has since been richly supported by people, organizations, businesses, and governments of the nations represented here. And as you've heard, that generosity will be devoted to two major causes. First, the treatment and, in some cases, the elimination of avoidable blindness. And secondly, a new program of youth leadership named for Her Majesty's Diamond Jubilee. Both these projects have the potential to transform millions of lives across the Commonwealth and would simply not have been possible without your outstanding and continuing support. Ladies and gentlemen, each one of us is here because of the hope and the trust we place in the Commonwealth to bring that touch of healing to our troubles and deliver the very best future for our people. The Queen, head of the Commonwealth, sends warm greetings to you all, and on her behalf, it gives me very great pleasure to declare open this meeting of Commonwealth Heads of Government.
A contemporary musical creation, Paradise Calling, is performed by Sri Lanka's most popular young contemporary musicians of the present day. The song carries a message of hope and prosperity and invites the people of the world to come, explore, and experience the wonders of this paradise nation.
Time to live it up. Sunshine will wash වත්නිගේ මුණ ගැසෙන නව යුගයේ අපි ඉන්නේ
සේදමාවත දිගේ කිම්බෙමට දොර හැරතිනේ
මම්මාවත් දිගේ මුණ ගැහෙන නව යුගයේ අපි ඉන්නේ අතීතේ ලයට ලයපා ලබා දුන්නට අදිනවුරුනේ මාබිමාවන්නේ ඉන්නලියලා ලබා දුන්නට මේකෙන් නොහිතේ ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා ගල් කුළු පුරා සරුසාර අස්වනු සදා බෝ ආයු පුදනා තුරා සැක නැතුවයි බය නැතුවයි ඉන්නේ සීසාන ගල් කුළු පුරා නිති සරුසාර අස්වනු සදා බෝ ආයු පුදනා තුරා සැක නැතුවයි බය නැතුවයි ඉන්නේ
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, the Honourable Prime Minister of Australia, the Commonwealth Secretary General and the heads of the government will now proceed for the rest of the program of meetings and discussions, and we wish them success.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance at this morning's opening ceremony, and we hope that you have enjoyed the program of the Cogam 2013 opening ceremony in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Please remain seated until an usher invites you to proceed.
Thank you for your attention.
Dapat moga hati